Well, welcome for those of you that are coming in to sharpen your sushi skills. We've got a lot of people signed up for this fabulous class today. And so we'll probably get started really about 5 after 2. This class is sold out and there are 100 people that signed up for this. And so it's going to take a bit to get everybody in and in place. So while you are coming in, just hang out and we are glad that you're here. If you can, please mute yourself. There will be a lot of background noise if 100 people have their microphones on. And I think with this many people, I suggest that for now you keep your cameras off, because with having 100 people on the call, it may slow things down. So cameras off and microphone off, and we are super happy that you're here. Again, welcome.
Sit back and relax, right? I did send the recipes out. Did you two get those, Chris and Isabel? Okay.
Yes.
Good. I'm already going to change one.
You do kind of as you go, but that's what I always tell people, don't get,
I need my scissors, that's right. Yeah, just one little thing about the nori, so that's all.
Yeah. I'm excited. This makes me want sushi. So if you are just coming into this call, welcome. We are here at Sharpen Your Sushi Skills, which is actually kind of hard to say. There's a lot of S's in there. I feel like I've had like too much sake or something trying to spit those words out. But that's where we are, Sharpen Your Sushi Skills. And our chef today is Miss Amy Nichols from the Area Agency on Aging. And if you're new to this class, normally, a lot of the times, most of the time, Isabel or I from Bronson do the cooking, and Amy is the facilitator, but we have switched places today. And our chef today is Amy Nichols. She loves to make sushi. In fact, I think she's the first person I ever made sushi with years ago. I think you probably don't remember this, Amy, but she taught me to make sushi myself. So I think it's going to be a really great class. Maybe some of you are rolling along. And for those of you who are not, I'll bet that as soon as you get done with this class, you will go out and buy yourself a $5 Sushi Mat and start rolling some up yourself. And Amy's going to talk us through all of that in just a couple minutes. So we're super glad to have you here. And I think this is going to be a really exciting class.
Me too.
Thanks.
Awesome. And for those of you that are just rolling in, we're going to get started about 5 after. You are in Sharpen Your Sushi Skills. And if you came in early, you're going to hear me say this 5 times in the next 5 minutes. So just welcoming new people in, but we're really glad you're here. We're doing Sharpen Your Sushi Skills with Miss Amy Nichols from the Area Agency on Aging. And you can see her spotlighted with her giant knife and sushi plate. And we will be getting started at about 5 after 2. I am the facilitator. My name's Chris Flood. I am from Bronson. And our co-facilitator is Isabel Hinton. You can't see her. Oh, yes, you can see her. And she's going to be letting people in and out and sort of manning the controls and all of that. Now, I see somebody typed in the chat, Isabel, can't share video, says host stopped video. That is because when we have this many people signed up in a class, it really slows down the bandwidth really can't support 100 videos being on at the same time. So rather than have the Zoom class be dropped or have us not be able to see Amy because her video is frozen, we spotlight the speakers and we'll have you for now keep your video off. We would love to see you, but because we have so many people, the class will run much more smoothly if the participants have their video and microphones muted. We will be doing some interaction. There's going to be some polls in this class. There are also going to be some opportunities to chat in what you think about sushi. Amy's going to have some questions for you. So just hang in there and we'll get started in about 5 minutes. Again, it's a big class. We had 100 people sign up for it. Normally we have some no-shows, but we've still got a lot of people to get in, and we will start this at 2:05 today. Some people are saying, got it, sounds good, all that. And for those of you that are in already, if you are able to use the chat feature, and that's the little button on the bottom, it looks like a speech bubble. I would like to know, for those of you that are already here, have you ever made sushi before? Just a simple yes or no. If you can type that into the chat, I'd like to hear about it and see what we've got. Somebody said no, somebody said tried. I'm getting some couple of yeses, some no's. About even so far. Yep.
I emailed somebody the recipes in draft form because they wanted to cook along, Chris. And so they said, I've never made sushi before. And my answer was, if I can do it, you can do it. It's not.
That's true. That's true. And I think I saw that person setting up maybe at the very beginning. I saw somebody that looked like they were setting up at the very beginning of this call. So
great.
So for those of you that typed in the chat, if you're new and you're coming in, my question was, have you ever made sushi before? You can respond via the chat. I'm going to do another quick welcome. We're going to get started at 2:05 today. So welcome to Sharpen Your Sushi Skills. I'm Chris Flood from Bronson, and I'm the facilitator for today's class, along with Isabel Hinton from Bronson, who you see up there in the corner. And our chef today is Amy Nichols from the Area Agency on Aging. Amy usually is the facilitator. So we have swapped roles today. And Amy is an excellent sushi maker. So I'm really excited about this. I know she's really excited about it. And she's going to walk us through some recipes and teach us some tricks about making and rolling sushi. So we're really glad you're here. If you're just coming in, we are muting people and turning off their cameras just to make sure we don't get frozen in the middle of this and we're unable to see Amy. One quick thing to know, there is such a thing as a Zoom bombing where somebody unwelcome to the meeting enters with maybe some not so nice stuff. And if that happens during this meeting, we will abruptly end the meeting and you will have the recipes, and we'll try to possibly reschedule for another time. Now, we've done maybe over 10 of these classes and we have not had that happen yet. So I'm knocking on my wooden desk that does not happen. And
I usually knock on my head. I figure that's harder than my desk.
Yeah, exactly. So good to see everybody. Got about a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. And people will be coming in for the next 10 minutes. And so if you see different names and stuff popping up, that's just other people coming in. But we will have spotlighted 2 videos on our guest chef today, Amy. One is her sushi platter that you can see there. It looks like a beautiful, I don't know, what color is that, Amy?
It's kind of aqua.
Yeah, it's like a really pretty blue-green. And then we see Amy's cutting board where she's going to teach us, and some kind of a vegetable peeking out in the corner, which I'm sure she's going to talk about.
I got a whole bunch of vegetables to talk about.
That's our surprise guest for today. So she'll be going over that.
Yep.
All right. So I'm excited about this. Every time I do these classes, I get really hungry for what I'm making. So I bet Amy's getting excited about eating her sushi. Are you, Amy?
You know, I don't like sushi, right? You know that?
But your family does, right?
My family adores it, which is why I make it all the time. It's also why I did some of the side dishes to go with this so that, you know, it rounds it out a little bit. It's not my favorite, honestly. But my family,
I love it. Oh. I love it. So we are going to get started. I'm going to do my last welcome. It's 2:05 and I'm going to turn it over to Amy. So welcome. We are in Sharpen Your Sushi Skills today. This is a online virtual class brought to you by a partnership between Bronson Healthcare Group and the Area Agency on Aging. Amy Nichols from the Area Agency on Aging is our guest chef today, and she is going to be teaching us how to make sushi. There will be opportunities for you to chat in questions. If you have questions while Amy's talking and cooking, please type them into the chat. You don't need to wait for a particular time, and I will be sure and read out those questions for our chef to answer. We've also built in some polls and some questions. So thanks for being here. And without further ado, Amy, let's get started.
Well, thank you. Oh my gosh, this is so different for me. I am always the one sitting in the chair, just being the helpful one. To be the one in front of the camera is a little nerve-wracking. I haven't done this in a really long time. But as Chris said, sushi is, you know, my family's favorite. Not mine though. So that's why we've got a couple other rounded out dishes to go with it, and to also make our sushi a little more healthy. It is very healthy, but we're even going to kick it up another notch, and then to make it a little bit more affordable. But the most important thing there's two things you need for sushi. One is rice and one is nori, seaweed. So we're going to talk about rice first. This is brown sushi rice. Do you have to have brown sushi rice? No, you can do this with just plain old brown rice, but brown sushi rice, and all sushi rice actually, is very short grained. So it's very small, little tiny things, and they have a lot of starch, which makes them super sticky. So when you cook it, it ends up looking kind of like this, kind of glumpy. If you see, this is so sticky right now. It wasn't quite this lumpy when I got done cooking it, but I want to talk about how I cooked it first. So the first thing you do is you soak this rice. Now, normally if you're going to soak rice, you would dump off that water that's got all that extra starch in it. But this time you're going to leave it in there. So I did a triple recipe because I was nervous and wanted to make sure that we had enough. But normally I would only do about a double recipe. This is 3 cups of cooked rice, and I soaked it for 20 minutes. And then I put it in my rice cooker, and you cook it on white rice. Super important. If you use a rice cooker, you got to use white rice. If you use it on the stove, you would just bring it to a boil and boil it for 20 minutes. Not like you normally would for brown rice. Usually brown rice takes like 45 minutes, right? So this time you're going to cook it a little less. Because you've soaked it, you kind of started that process a little bit and gotten through that germ that's on the outside of it, not the germs, the wheat germ, or the germ of the rice that's on the outside, and broken it down already. So that's why you don't need to cook it for quite as long. If you cooked it for 45 minutes, you probably have a big old mush. So we don't want mush. We want,
Amy, quick question. Clarification there. I think I heard this right, but I want to verify that you're saying if you're using a rice cooker and it has a white rice setting, to cook it on that setting as opposed to the brown rice setting. Is that correct? That is correct. 100% correct. Yeah. Because you've started that process already. It doesn't need to have that longer cook time. Gotcha. The soaking aids in it. So this is lovely. When you get done with your brown rice, while it's hot, you got to work while it's hot. You need to make it into sushi rice. And to make it into sushi rice, you got to add 3 things: salt, sugar, and vinegar. Now, your recipe has all the quantities on it that you can separately measure. I like to use rice vinegar. It's a little lighter. It's not quite as acidic, but some people really like straight up white vinegar in here. Now, regular table sugar, regular salt. You're going to mix those together in a pan or in a bowl till they're dissolved, and then you're going to add it to your rice while it's still hot, and you're going to keep moving it around. You can also cheat. This is at the Meijer grocery store. Sushi vinegar has everything in it you need. Now you don't need to mix anything. You just need to sprinkle away and keep stirring and tasting and stirring and tasting. Sushi rice should have enough vinegar in it that it makes that little spot right back there in your mouth kind of alive. You'll taste that and you'll go, oh, okay. So you need to add the flavor to it, but you also are making it extra super sticky. So this is how we're going to get all of our rolls to stick together when we're done. Interesting thing about sushi rice, it was never meant to be eaten. It was what they would take their piece of fish in Japan, and they would cover it in vinegar, and then they would pat it with cooked rice that was left over in an effort to draw out some of the fishy, stonky taste out of it. Isn't that gross? And then they would just discard it and eat the rice. So that was, and not usually eat it. But once they got into nori, which we're going to talk about next, is when it started to all come together. So now we've got super sticky brown rice. Brown rice we know is healthier for us. This is one of the extra kicks
that we do, I must admit that because I was very nervous switching spots with Chris, that I made my whole family practice with me on Sunday. And my daughter said, I am not eating that brown rice. You got to make some white rice too. So I made her white sushi rice and brown sushi rice. And at the end of it, she said to me, yeah, you can just skip the white. The brown is really good, I must admit. So if you're on the fence about that, go with the brown rice. It just works.
That's really good. One quick question, Amy, can you make so if you don't like the long cooking brown rice, could you cheat and use the instant brown rice and then add those extra ingredients, the vinegar and the sugar to that? Would that work, or would it not be sticky enough?
It's not sticky enough. It's okay. Because that is really rinsed off to cook those starches off so that it's light and fluffy, that it doesn't have enough starch to it to stick it together.
Okay, very good. We got two more questions before we move on to the nori. One is, somebody said that some restaurants in their city use a rice that is a combo of red, black, and a lighter color. What is that rice? How would it be different to cook in a rice cooker?
Well, that rice is actually just a different variety of rice. Like there's wild rice and brown rice and basmati. It's just a different variety. It really is a different color though. That red is kind of a burgundy almost. It's really beautiful. And black looks like wild rice. And I have not been able to find the black in an Asian store to see if it's not just wild rice. And each one will have a different cooking time because no two rices are the same, I swear. You know, you got white and brown are pretty basic, but once you get into those, they'll have a little bit different cooking time and what is their variety. So good question.
Okay, very good, very good. So the bottom line with that is know your rice, know thy rice.
Know thy rice, yes.
And if it's going to get to the right texture. And then you got one more question, which is, can you just use seasoned, oh, wait a minute. I lost my question there. Can you just use seasoned rice vinegar instead of sushi vinegar?
You can, but it doesn't usually have sugar in it. So know that if you are looking for a little bit of that sweet, it's more of a salty than a salt and vinegar. There's not usually the sugar added to it. So if you want that little bit of sweet to kind of combat some of that vinegar, but yes, you may. The vinegar is what really makes it sticky. The sugar helps as well. But yes, you may. So I did see the one about how long does it take to cool this rice down? I should have mentioned that. This rice needs to cool down to room temperature, but there's some caveats with that. I keep stirring it till it gets down to room temperature, and then I put it in the fridge because I do not want any foodborne illness to come out of my rice. You do not want this rice sitting on the counter. Do not make this at 9 a.m. and eat this at 6 p.m. That is bad. Yeah, there are some things that will grow, even with the vinegar in there. You've changed the acidity a little bit, but that being said, you just want it to get to room temperature because hot rice is going to cause you trouble with your nori. I told you I practiced. Look, I bought a thing of nori at the Asian store in Kalamazoo, Michigan. If you guys are from Michigan, I just sent Chris there this weekend too.
and you have a question about that in the chat. So this is great. Somebody said, where can we buy these things around here? Basically, is there an Asian store? Okay. So go ahead. First of all,
you can buy smaller packages of everything. I didn't buy any, I'm not making anything today you cannot find in your local grocery store. I just happened to buy bigger packages because I knew I was going to practice on Sunday. And my family really likes it. So this whole thing was $20. So this is the pricey part, but my family will go through this in months and it keeps for a while. So nori is just seaweed. It's just processed up, flattened up seaweed. Back in the day, it used to be that this seaweed was scraped off the post down by the river in the water. They would scrape it off like barnacles and then dry it out. And that's how it became seaweed. Now it is all farmed and cultured and processed and clean, but no more grossness to it. And then it's flattened out because this is going to be our wrapper. It has a shiny side and a not so shiny side. And I always use the shiny side down because that's prettier. No worries. If you screw it up and do the other side, nobody's going to know. The only people that'll know are you. So this is what we're going to use to wrap our two different kinds of sushi we're going to make today. So today we're going to make a veggie sushi because remember I said we're going to make this extra healthy. And then we're going to make a spicy crab salad that I just made for the first time on Sunday, and my family adored. So crab is expensive, and I, being the cheapie that I am, you guys all know that, I tell you that all the time, I don't like to do dishes and I'm notoriously cheap. So I'm using imitation crab meat, crab with a K as it happens at my house to be called. And these are just Alaskan pollock fish that is processed up with egg whites. Let me see what else is in here. Extracts of blue crab, snow crab, lobster. If you have any seafood issues, this is not the product for you. Right? Leave this be, skip this one. But you can also, you know, this, you can find any other kind of imitation that doesn't have seafood in it. So there are some out there, but you have to work a little harder for this. But I just like these good old fashioned crab sticks. And by the way, we eat these as snacks too at my house. Do you, Chris?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're good. And one thing for people to know about that crab is it is that, I call it K-Rab all the time, but anyway, I don't know where I got that, but it is not an unhealthy food. It is low calorie. Yes, it has sodium in it. You know, there is some added salt in there, but it is not an unhealthy choice. So if you're thinking, man, I don't want to buy that because regular crab is so much healthier, that's not true. It's basically ground up types of fish and some egg white and some salt. And so if that's what you like and prefer to use, I know I do. I don't, you know, buy real crab very often. It's a decent choice.
90 calories a serving, so not bad at all. We're going to revisit that in a little bit. So what I did was I chopped up 3 of these. Can you see that? Or should I put that on? We're good? Okay. I chopped up 3 of those, and we're going to add a couple things to kind of sort of kick it up. And we're going to start with the English cucumber. So all my recipes that I sent you have these English cucumbers, which today happen to be giant. You know how sometimes they're only about this big? Not today. So I based this recipe on a smaller one when I wrote it. So it says to use half. Don't use half of one, use a quarter of one. So take this, I washed it. The reason we use the English cucumber is that it doesn't have really thick skin. You can just chop it right up. And of course there's good fiber in the skin, right? So what I did was diced up a quarter of this right here. I think you should be able to see that one. We're going to add that to our 3 crab legs. And then we're going to split what would normally be all mayonnaise in a salad like this. I'm just going to use 2 tablespoons of regular old mayonnaise. Yes, I'm a Hellmann's fan. I can't help it. But we're adding Greek yogurt. Chris and I talk about Greek yogurt all the time. I have not made any kind of, you know, salad, tuna salad, crab salad, whatever, in years without splitting it between mayonnaise and Greek yogurt, because it just adds so much more flavor. It's just so much better for you. Now, this Duke's mayonnaise is the best. I hear you. Okay, we're gonna have an argument about that one, but
I saw you saw that. And one other thing, and I don't want to get you off track because I'm keeping track of these chat questions that we can revisit a couple that we missed later. But somebody did ask, back to the rice, can you show the bag so they can copy and buy the same one?
Oh, definitely. There's the bag.
Oh, I love that rice.
Yeah, niche something. And I bought it at the Asian grocery store. This one did come from the Asian grocery store. They do have short grain brown rice at Meijer though. I just didn't buy it because I got excited by that one. Cool. It says quick cooking, even though they all say quick cooking. I think it's a lost in translation thing. Just so you know, even the white says quick cooking. So,
yeah,
maybe that's
and that one's not quick cooking. Yeah.
No. Oh, I appear to have started a fight. Hellmann's is the best. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, mayonnaise fight. Okay.
Mayonnaise fight. Okay, this is Sriracha. Y'all know what Sriracha is. We've used it before, but it is just a Asian hot sauce. And this is 2 teaspoons. Now that is a lot, not more. I mean, I'm not sure, unless you are people that really like it hot, I would use that much. It's too hot for me, but tonight my husband is going to eat these. So we're making them his way, and his way is hotter than hot. He's the kind of guy that goes to a Thai restaurant and orders the extra hot. So he'll be happy with this little bit of Sriracha. So, and he'll probably add more, to be honest with you. all we do is stir that together. And now you have, this is going to be one of our fillings for our sushi. So how about I go like this?
Yes, much better.
Okay, nice. Awesome. So we're going to set that aside for a second, and we're going to get ready for our second one.
While you're getting ready, should we have Isabel do a quick poll?
We should have Isabel do a quick poll.
And then we'll hear about the mystery vegetable. Isabel, launch a quick poll for us.
All right, so in case you haven't, hi, I'm Isabel. I've been in the back. In case you haven't ever done a poll before on Zoom, what is going to happen is a box is going to show up on your screen with the question and a bunch of different answers. All you have to do is click the answer that you agree with most and then make sure you hit the word submit. Otherwise, your answer won't be counted. And I do want to say that all of these questions are anonymous, so you don't have to worry about, you know, us knowing who answered what. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the first poll that we have here. And the question is, where did sushi originate? Japan, China, India, or Martha Stewart created it? So I'm going to launch that poll. Should show up. You can click your vote. Make sure to hit submit. And then we'll see what everybody thinks. Give you guys a few more seconds to answer. There's a few other people answering.
And you can answer in the chat if it doesn't work for you on the poll.
Yeah, good point. And somebody did answer in the chat. So we have a net one vote for Japan. That might be.
Oh, bummer.
Okay.
Why don't you end the poll, Isabel, and I will, and then you can check the mute.
Okay. All right. It looks like most everybody said Japan.
Well, interesting. Okay. Chris, you want to tell them the answer or you want me to?
No, you tell them.
Okay. The answer is actually China. Japan really took off with it after they had, used to be kind of it was a street food in China. And so Japan took it on as kind of a street food. And then they had a big earthquake and everybody decided not to be out on the street selling things. So they moved inside and started a sushi restaurant. So that's where the whole sushi restaurant came from. The actual sushi is Chinese. So very cool.
Yeah. Amy taught me that. I did not know that. I guess Japan. She taught me that this morning.
And I would think you can remove that last person that was loud like that from the meeting. Did you know that? Chris, I will tell you about how to do that in a second.
Yes, okay. And I can see Isabel's eyes and she's looking right now.
Okay. Awesome. As long as you got the name, I think I know who it was. But okay, here we go. This is one of our mystery vegetables. We have two mystery vegetables today. They both happen to be stinking giant. So we'll start with this one. And this one is called the Daikon Radish. It is kind of, I don't think they're overly spicy. Do you, Chris? Yeah. They're not really spicy and they're not really what I would call like pretty either. They just kind of look, they're just kind of there. But if you will see these pickled kind of mildly with salt and maybe a little vinegar, and so when you're looking for it, I just wanted you to know what it was. And it was so giant, I thought it was fun. We had to have it and see what it was like. I buy a lot of
will you put the giant one over on your sushi plate just so people can get a little bit of a closer look at it? So that's what the Daikon radish looks like if you see them in the grocery store. Carrie is asking, do they have those at Meijer? I think
they do.
Yeah.
In that, yeah. That crazy section where all the loose vegetables kind of are, and there's some, you know, there's quite an Asian selection there. So good question, Carrie. Good. Anybody want to guess what this one is? Get it close. It is a giant avocado. It is from the Dominican Republic. I would not use this giant avocado for this recipe because most of the sushi recipes that we make require so few vegetables that this would make sushi for 100, I swear, before we were done. But I want to show you that it looks super similar, just got a bigger,
That's a giant pit.
man down, got a bigger giant pit. That thing is huge. Look at it.
That is giant.
That is giant.
And
Instead,
somebody in the chat commented on the radish, Amy. Said leaves of the daikon can be eaten raw or cooked. Daikon can be cooked also. Italians like it very much. So yes. And you can,
I did not know that part.
You can roast your radishes just like you roast sweet potatoes or any other vegetable, and they get mild and sweeter and delicious. So just something to think about if you've got a radish that size sitting around.
I was hoping you were going to bring that up. But yes, you could. So all I did was make a few cuts in here, and we'll take a spoon and scoop this out when we're ready for our veggie sushi. And our veggie sushi, I'm going to take the other half of our English cucumber, and I'm going to cut off the ends because, you know, the ends are no fun. Nobody likes those. And I'm going to just cut it in half because you always want to have a flat side when you're cutting something, right? And then we're just going to make strips of it. Very simple, very easy. I happen to have a new knife here. So if you see me wonking my hands out of the way, it's because I've already tried to cut my finger off once with this knife.
It looks very large.
It's a great knife, but it's also a little scary, can I just say? So I'm going to add that to my plate here. We will not use all of this, no way, no how. But I wanted to talk to you about these poor little carrots. I bought carrot sticks because my kids were home and they like to eat them, and I have them left in my fridge. So instead of peeling and cutting a carrot up and trying to make cute little squares out of it, I am using them up. By the time we wrap them in rice and nori, no one's going to know that they look a little white or a little dry. So use what's in your fridge. Don't be afraid. And that's my 2 cents on that one. So I think we should get to rolling. Can you see it? What I've got here, if I move this out of the way a little bit.
Yes.
All right.
Are you going to roll on your cutting board? Yep. Okay.
I am. And then I'm going to talk a minute about it before, and then I'll move it over there and actually do the rolling process so you can see what I've got. Perfect. This is a sushi mat. It's bamboo. It's washable, and they're like $4.99 for 2 of them, I think, actually, if you get them at the grocery store. I've had these forever, so they're looking a little tired, but I did buy new ones. But you know, I'm cheap, and I like to just use what I have. But these are lovely to use, but the trick with them is to use cling wrap or saran wrap or whatever you want to call it to cover them with, so that, oh boy, I got the sticky cling wrap and it's stuck together. This is great. There we go. Ta-da. So this is going to become your wrapper for your sushi and keep your mat from getting completely gunky should you do some fancier stuff. We're not going to do fancy today. We're just working on how to rock and roll with it. So lay your saran wrap.
Is that the press and seal saran wrap?
It is the press and seal.
I thought so. Okay. I was just.
And it's okay. Again, you use what you have at home. It has little snowmen on it.
I thought so. Okay. So she's using the press and seal, but you could use that or regular saran or cling wrap.
Exactly. I used up my regular this weekend. So there we go. All right. So you get your sheet of nori, shiny side down, and lay it in front of you. Here's my caveat about putting the rice on. Don't go crazy. You don't need that much rice. People will take half of this bowl and put it on top of here. You do not need that much rice. In fact, you could really measure it out if you wanted. It's just a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup. So just take your 1/3 of a cup, plunk it on there if you want. I cheat a little bit. I like to get my hands just a little bit wet so then things don't stick to it. So I've always got a little bowl of water, and then I break it up into chunks. So how about if I move over here? We move the big giant radish. Can you see that? Okay. So when you break it up into chunks, you just sort of spread the love a little. Get it up there, breathe on there.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect. Okay. Then get your hands wetter, and then you just smush. Now this one looks like I probably need a little bit more. I want to cover the rice, or cover the nori, but I don't want it 1 inch thick, because when you do that, you'll have giant sushi rolls, and nobody wants that. Now, they're hard to get in your mouth when they're big and fat. So the other thing I'm going to tell you is that you don't have to go right to the very edges right here on the sides, because we're going to cut those off because we're going to make it pretty. If we're going to go to all this effort, we're going to make pretty ones, right? You just smush it together. Is this coming back to you now, Chris?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't think we used brown rice though. Can you imagine?
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Amy probably doesn't remember this, but I had volunteered to make sushi for kids in elementary school. And so I needed to make 300 samples, never having made sushi before. And I was really tired of making sushi after I made 300. It wasn't 300 rolls, but it was 300 samples.
300 pieces, yeah.
300 pieces. It was difficult. So.
All right, so now we've got what's pretty, and don't worry if you've got a few open holes. It's not bad. It's better than having it too thick. Always err on that side. So we're going to start laying our cucumber down, and look at that. That size is just about perfect. So I don't have to cut anybody in there.
Amy, this is our veggies. Push it up a tiny bit more so we can see the whole cucumber. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Okay,
thank you for that because I can't see.
Yep.
And the same thing with our carrot sticks. Easiest thing about the carrot stick is though, you just break it off so that it lines up about the same way. I put those two together for a reason, because I'm going to scoop out our little avocado here with a spoon. And then I can lay.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. I've got a
and
question.
Then I'm going to lay him on top because he's easy to smush. And we're about to get to the rolling and the smushing part, which is my favorite. This is really simple. Don't overthink it. Don't get nervous. So you're going to pick up your mat and your saran wrap. I always like to fold that back just a little bit. You hold your fingers here, roll it over, and see how the saran wrap is folded back? That's so it doesn't roll in our sushi roll. And you're going to give it a good squish. Don't be afraid. It's just going to squish stuff together. And then you just pick up your mat a little bit, roll it forward a little bit more, squish, squish, roll, roll, roll. So you get about 90% of the way. So you can see we're almost there. Now we're going to flip him over. Because what I don't want to happen is I don't want this to roll in on itself. So I'm going to pull my saran wrap back, and I'm going to roll it up, and I'm going to get it to where everybody, ta-da. Can we see that?
That looks beautiful. Somebody commented that they couldn't see the rolling, but I didn't have trouble seeing it. So I know you're going to roll more. So as you roll
another one, so don't worry, just because I want to make sure you get it right.
That looks beautiful. And Amy, one quick question from somebody. Yeah. They said sometimes they feel like their hand is too heavy, but when they put the rice on the nori and smush it, the nori gets wet. Any comments on how to avoid?
Okay, first of all, make sure your rice is completely cool. It can't be hot because that will make your nori smushy. And then don't like soak your hands just a little bit and just touch the rice as you're moving it around. The other thing you can do is use this, a rice paddle. This is made for rice. It usually comes with your rice cooker, and that sometimes helps you smush things around a little bit and spread. Good question.
Yeah, okay. And so just a couple of things about the views right now. So I see in the chat, somebody says they can only see the left part of the counter. What you should be looking at if we have this running right is two views of Amy. One would be Amy's kitchen where I can't see her at all right now. There, now she's coming out. And then the other one has the sushi rolled on it. So if that person is having trouble, I'll have Isabel maybe check with them on the side and try to troubleshoot what that is. But you should see two views, one of just the roll and one of, right now, only part of Amy because she's moving to a different spot.
Yeah, I will come back and do another one over here, just so we know, okay?
Okay. So, and somebody said if you were on the phone, swiped left and they got it. So somebody else is helping out. So thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
Elaine, thank you.
Now this part, I want to roll this baby up for a reason, because when you roll it up, you can grab your ends and give it a good old fashioned twist. Tuck it on. So one thing about the good sticky stuff, give it a twist and tuck it under, because that's going to help shape your roll a little bit. It's going to make it very tight and taut. And contrary to every sushi restaurant out there, I try to make these ahead. I used to be a caterer, and so I make these ahead to kind of hold on to and then slice them right before. But in the interest of time, I'm going to show you what it looks like when we slice it. So far so good?
Yes, looks
right.
Good. So she's got her sushi roll wrapped up. She said a lot of times she lets them sit, but now she's going to open it up and slice it. Maybe, Amy, if you scooch it a tiny bit over to, I think, your left. Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Fabulous. Now we're going to bring back our pan here, or our plate, I mean, and let's talk about cutting sushi. So back in the day when I would help Chris do these things with schools, people would always say, like, the kids would be like, I like fractions. I don't know what I'm going to do with fractions. Fractions are your friend. And this is one of pure example of fractions. So when you unwrap your roll, and of course it's going to be super sticky on me right now. You know it is. So I'm prepared for that though. Cutting off my ends, cheating a little. Because when it's sticky, right? Now, there we go. Gosh, that's loud. Sorry, folks. All right. There's our sushi roll. Except this time I'm going to use a different knife. I'm going to use this big old honkin' slicing knife. And I'm going to get the tip of it wet in my water that I use for my hands. And the first thing you're going to do is cut off your ends. Those are the chef's portions. So you can see they'll most likely fall apart. Yes, Chris.
Is your knife a serrated knife? I can't tell from here. Is it good to use
yes.
Okay, very good. So
yep, it's a serrated bread knife. I get it wet in between. And the first thing you're going to do is figure out where half is. So you kind of have to eyeball it. We've cut off our ends. So all of our slices should be clean, right? So then you're going to cut your half in half. Now we're on to quarters. And then you could use a smaller serrated knife. But again, I use what I have at home, right? So with this, when I slice it, I always kind of try to put my finger over on it a little bit. And there's our sushi. Ta-da.
That looks beautiful.
One roll should get you 8 pieces.
And when you're done placing it on there, be sure to scoot it a little bit closer to your body and we'll be able to see the tray.
I can do that. Ta-da. And if, you know, something sticks up a little bit, you don't like the looks of it, no worries, shove it back in there. Or if your avocado is very smushy like this one, put it face down. Okay? Now. Ta-da.
Perfect. We can see
yes.
it. They're pretty.
All right, very pretty. There's our first one. First sushi down. Okay. I'm going to leave that there for a minute. I go back over here and talk about sushi number 2. So I'm going to put some of my veggies over here. I don't really care for those at the moment. Clean up my mess a little.
A couple questions while you're cleaning up.
Sure.
Pam wants to know, do you wet the knife after each cut? I'm thinking, I heard her do that, so I'm thinking yes.
Yes, I do. Unless it's really cutting well, then I don't. But it's that's one of those things you're just going to have to eyeball to know if it's going to work.
Very good. And while you're setting up, do you need timer? Do you want Isabel to poll or are you going to roll right into it?
I'm going to roll right into it.
Perfect.
We are good. We're on to our maki nori, which is the one thing I said I was going to change the recipes already. Instead of using a full sheet, it's very hard to handle when we're going to roll these babies into triangles. So I took a full sheet and cut some off just using scissors, as you can see. So there we go. Is that better if I go like that? So you can see that I cut off probably what, 3 inches of it, just because it's easier to handle. And we're going to do this one in our hands. So again, shiny side in your hand. but we are only going to fill the top half of this baby with rice. So I cut them with scissors, by the way. Oh, you want me to show how I cut a roll? I got you. Okay. Let me make this one and then we'll make another roll. How's that?
Yep. Sounds good.
So
yep.
I'm going to put my rice on there and I'm going to put it on there like that. Get my fingers wet. And we're going
definitely
to
a need for clean hands, right?
Yes. You know, it is, water is your friend as long as you don't go crazy with it, because then you make your nori not crunchy. And this one is especially known for being crunchy because there's only filling on about half of it. So if you can see what I did there, and I'm going to put them in my hands, and I'm going to have to do this one under here so you can see what I'm about to do, because this one's a little tricky. I'm going to get my crab salad, and I'm going to take my crab salad and I'm going to put it kind of in the middle. Can you see that, Chris?
Move your salad bowl over of the crab salad in your hand. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're going to just make a nice strip of our crab salad in there. And you're going, by this time, like, what in the world is she doing? So in order to make this a triangle, it's easier if you remember to kind of turn your hands. And you grab one corner and you're going to kind of fold it over. If you're a lefty, you're going to grab the other corner, but this is the corner I like. So I'm folding it over to where it sticks on my rice. Can you see that?
Scoot over a little bit to your left, Amy. Move the crab bowl out of the way. Little lower, little lower. Now we got it. Perfect. Right there.
Fabulous. This is really hard to do blind. Sorry, guys.
No, that's perfect.
So you see where I stuck it up against the rice? Nori will stick if you put it up against rice. That's the trick for today. So now we've got this part. We're going to take our other corner and we're literally going to wrap it around the back. And then we're going to get back here and you're like, oh, it doesn't stick. Yes, it will. With one tiny little bit of wet rice. And we're going to stick it under. Ta-da. There's our maki. Now the filling is really only up to about here, you guys. The rest of this is just crunchy. And this one is known as crunchy sushi. So that is really what my husband and my kids call it. Can you make the crunchy sushi stuff? So that is all this. It is just literally grabbing a corner and doing what you need to do to it. So we're going to put him on there. He's going to have to fit kind of kitty corner like that.
He looks good. Now, is that also known as a hand roll?
A hand roll, exactly. That's because it's in your hand. Yes.
Okay, very good. Well, that looks delicious. Nice.
Okay, how are we doing for time?
2:43. Okay.
Do you want me to try and do a quick one and then show the salad?
I do, because I think they really want to see the rolling again. Because
all right, deal.
So for the rolling, I think the steps to go over is after you make that first roll, twist, do you then pick it up, or how do you get to the next roll? That's one thing. And the second thing is, you had mentioned something about the saran wrap being sticking out. Just kind of show that part over.
Sure. Yep. Okay. So first things first, shiny side down. And I'll put the rice on here before I move over here. Since my rice is over here, you guys are stuck with me for just a minute. And then we'll get wet hands again, and we will smush it around. And like I said, if you don't want to use your hands, you can always use your rice paddle. Works just fine. And now, since my husband is a huge fan of this crab salad, I'm going to go ahead and use the crab salad because it'll save him from eating it out of the bowl later.
And while she's putting that on there, I want to mention with that crab salad, if you don't have sriracha, you don't have to run out and buy it. You could use chili, if you have like chili garlic paste or chili garlic sauce, or even if you have Tabasco and you want to put a little heat in there. So don't feel like you have to run right out and get something that you don't have. It's just adding a little bit of ground chilies to it, a little bit of spice.
Right. You're just looking for some mayonnaise, some yogurt, and some spice, basically, is all you're really looking for in there. So, yeah. And I'm going to talk about wasabi. You could always just use that as well. Can you see that pretty well?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to put a little cucumber on there too, because this is softer, and that's what I want to talk about. My other vegetables they were lovely and crunchy and a little smushy on the avocado, but when you have something that's really super soft, you want to put a little something crunchy in there to kind of hold it up a little bit. And you can see it really doesn't take very much to make these. You can make a little bit of stuff and it goes crazy. So, okay.
And Amy, you've got 2 questions. One is related to the steps in this part. So I'm going to take those first and we'll do the other ones later. Right. Is the saran wrap under the nori paper? Yes. See, let me hold it up for you so you can see. I was just moving it around. So there's my mat. There's my stuff going down. Here's the nori. And then there's the rice and our toppings. Yep. Very good. And somebody was saying they couldn't see, and they may be having that same problem the other person was having. Yeah, swipe left on your phone to see the other people, if it's on your phone. Okay. So lift up the edge of the saran wrap and fold it underneath your sushi mat. That'll keep it out of the way so that when we start rolling, we aren't rolling up the saran wrap in there. So far, so good. Now, this one's gonna be a little ickier because you gotta get your fingers in there and you gotta kind of hold it still while you flop it. And then, see how our saran wrap is sticking up? Now I know it's not inside my sushi roll and I don't have to pick that out later. Perfect. All right, so you give it a good little smush just to make it firm. Lift up your saran wrap and your mat, flop it again, give it another good smush. You don't have to kill it. You just have to make sure that it's, together. Same thing, just keep kind of smushing. And now so you see we're up 90%. Amy, each time you're lifting up your saran wrap and your mat for the next twist, correct? Correct, yes. Yep. That's it. That's the key. So that otherwise your saran wrap might get rolled inside your roll. Yep. And been there, done that. Not a good thing to do because then you have to start all over again. All right, once I get it mostly done, I flop it face up and I pull back that. And you can see there's my roll, all set, okay? And then I will wrap it. If I was gonna wrap it, I just keep on rolling it up here, tighten up the ends like I did again, but we're not gonna bother with that. We're just gonna cut it because I wanna talk about the salad to go with this, and then the accompaniments that also go with our sushi. Because you don't eat sushi alone. And people did want to see it cut again, so that's good. And in the chat, somebody asked the difference between sushi and sashimi, but somebody answered that correctly. Sashimi is raw fish only. That is correct. So in case other people we have a poll question about that too. Ah. We do, about fish. So if you notice, I'm going to cut off the ends. Those are the chef's portions. And then again to the middle, wet knife. And then in half. This is pretty fresh, so I'm not feeling like I gotta wet it every single time, but and then ta-da! There you go. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, turned out lovely. Now I'm going to plate it up over here. How about if I finish this? Well, Isabel asked that question about fish. Sure, so I can talk about it. Definitely.
All right, I will go ahead and launch that second poll. The second poll is, what type of water should you eat raw fish from? Freshwater, saltwater, or bath water? Launch that. You can choose the answer you agree with. Give you guys a few more seconds to answer that question. All right, so it looks like most people believe that salt water is the type of water that you should eat raw fish from. All right.
They are correct, yes. Because, I'm gonna come over here for a minute while that sits there. Saltwater fish have fewer parasites than freshwater fish does. So you should always make sure that if you're gonna eat it raw, it came from the ocean or salt water. All right,
that looks awesome. Beautiful over there on your table. Yeah. It looks really nice.
So here's our accompaniment. These are our sliced up English cucumbers, and we put a little salt on them for like 5 minutes and then rinse them really well. It just sort of makes them crunchier. And I'm going to add to that rice vinegar, the plain rice vinegar, nothing seasoned, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sesame or of soy sauce. I would use sesame oil, but apparently it's not Japanese. So there you go. And then these are black and white sesame seeds. They just make it pretty. And then we're gonna just stir that up. And if it was me, I would probably eat the entire bowl of these, just so we're clear. They are beautiful and delicious. So, all right, I'm gonna put a little bit over here while I talk about our accompaniments, which you probably can't see. Can you see those now?
We can see the green and a little bit of the pink or orange.
Okay, so, well, let me swap it around. This is fast, watch this. All right, so what I have here, right here, is ginger, and it's pickled ginger. So it is the traditional palate cleanser that you would put in between your sushi types. You have a little pickled ginger, and it's just shredded. Oops, I picked this one. It's dyed this horrendous color, but I thought it would look pretty on camera. So that's why I picked this color. Normally I pick the light pink one that looks more like ginger. This right here is wasabi. We do have a poll question about wasabi, but I don't know how we're doing for time.
I think we got time. Isabel, okay, squeeze that one in, please.
Yeah. Maybe Isabel.
Okay, all right. Poll number 3. What vegetable is wasabi made from? Turnip, radish, green pepper, or green tomato?
And remember, if you can't use the polls, you can type your answer into the chat.
Give you guys a few more seconds. Okay, it looks like most people believe that wasabi is made from radish.
They're a very smart crowd. It is made from a radish. However, this wasabi that we have right now that I use, this is the brand S&B wasabi. It says it's wasabi. It is not. It is a different kind of radish that is much more readily available. It is fake wasabi. In order to get real wasabi, it is approaching truffle prices. And, you know, again, Amy's cheap, so we're not having that. So this is our wasabi right here. It is very spicy. This one happens to be a really, you have to test your wasabi each time you try it. This one happens to be really, really strong. So this is just my cute little bowls I've had here because, like I said, I've been making sushi for years. So what you do is you put a little soy sauce in there. There is a caveat. Do not fill your bowl up. Wasting soy sauce is considered a sin in Japan. So don't do that. When it comes to using your chopsticks, hold one still. I like to push it between my thumb and my finger. And then I have this one that moves. And all you do, no, I moved it too far. I can't do it. Take a little bit of wasabi like this. Put it on your, I'll put it over here so you can see what I'm doing. Your little sushi. Pick up your sushi. By the way, if you can't use chopsticks, don't be worried. It is not a sin to use your hands. So feel free to use this as the ultimate finger food. And then we just pop that in your mouth. But remember, like I said, I don't like sushi. So there you go.
That looks delicious. I like to slather them with the ginger because I love the ginger. That's my favorite part. And that looks great, Amy. You've got a couple questions.
Sure.
Should I shoot those out to you now?
Yeah, I'm gonna come over.
So perfect. We've got some ongoing questions about the wasabi. So Michelle is asking specifically about the ingredients, and somebody else in the chat said it's Japanese horseradish, which I guess you can call it that, although it's not that same root, right?
It's it's a different radish, but it doesn't say on here, and unfortunately I threw the box away. It's a different radish, but it's one that's much more readily grown. Wasabi root itself is a little fragile. as hot as it is. Who knew? So it's, yeah.
Okay. And
So
then somebody wants to know, did you make your own pickles?
Yes, those are my own. That's just me. I just sliced up the cucumber and made it myself. I did. I should talk about a little bit about eel sauce. There's a recipe that I attached for you guys for eel sauce. And this is just a reduction of soy sauce and sugar and sherry. It's supposed to be mirror and rice wine, but I didn't have any. And I'll show you what it looks like on top of our sushi, because it's very, very pretty. So it's just kind of this little, it's that little brown sauce you see when you're at a sushi restaurant and it says eel sauce. And I never wanted to order it because I was pretty sure it had eels in it, and I didn't think I liked that idea, but it does not. It's just wine and sugar and soy sauce.
That is a delicious sauce too. And according to Wikipedia, y'all, wasabi, or Japanese horseradish, Mr. Nichols, is a plant of the family. It's some kind of brassica, which also includes horseradish and mustard. So some kind of horseradishy plant, right?
Right. So yum yum sauce, it does look like oyster sauce. She's right. Yum yum sauce, I did not make, but this is the other thing that we always have with our sushi is Sriracha Mayo. So it's just that Sriracha and mayonnaise mixed together. And they literally look, so my kids will put everything on there because, like I said, they'll eat about anything. But when it comes to sushi, this does not want to come out very well, but you get the idea. So obviously there's not much left in there. Somebody put that back in the fridge, not very full, go figure.
So we've got a lot of questions coming in here. Just a minute. I want to make sure I hit everybody. We've got about 3 minutes, so we're going to get to as many of them as we can. But somebody's ready to have a sushi party, and they want to know, can you make sushi ahead of time before your guests arrive? And do you refrigerate it or freeze it and thaw it before you use it?
Never freeze it, but you can refrigerate it. I made, because Sunday I was practicing, and I had my family, extended family over for dinner, and I made my sushi rolls at like noon, and we didn't serve them till 6:30. So they were perfectly fine. You just keep them in that saran wrap, wrapped up. Don't slice them or anything until right before you're going to serve them, but just keep them in the fridge, no freezer.
Perfect. And then you've got a question about the recipe for julienne ginger pickles, please.
Julienne ginger pickles. I bought. Can I just tell you I bought them? Hang on, I'll grab them out of the fridge and show you what it looks like.
Okay.
Because, never mind. I lied. I had it out. I thought I did. Okay, this is what they look like. They're in a jar. Yep, they're just pickled ginger. And basically it contains ginger, water, salt, some acid, and potassium sorbate, and then red coloring. So
and you can find that in various different shreds and shapes at Walmart and Meijer in the Asian section.
Definitely, yeah. Usually it's a little lighter pink, but I was looking for camera pretty. So.
All right. Well, I think somebody wanted to know what exactly is the yum yum sauce?
I think it's a version of this, of Sriracha Mayo. Okay. But I that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I would Google it or look on Pinterest. That's what I do when I can't find it.
And I went to a party this summer and somebody had yum yum sauce on their shrimp and it was delicious. And I went immediately and Googled the recipe. I never made it, but there's a million recipes for it out there. So that's good to know.
I wanted to show if you want to practice your sushi or your chopsticks, you can use these kid versions. I have one pair left from when my kids were little. You probably can't see them because I'm standing in front of them, but they are at the top. Yeah. But you can, you can play with those too. So.
Well, Amy, this was really great. I am going to get right out. I know I bought a mat this weekend at the Asian store that Amy directed us to in Kalamazoo. And it was, somebody typed in, Mr. Nichols, that your rolling skill is great. I have learned a lot from your demo. I agree. It makes all the difference in the world to see it in action. So thank you for that. Thank you for the easy, healthy recipes that people on this call, you can tweak and adapt and buy your own very expensive fish to stuff your sushi with, or stuff it with vegetables and stick with the K-Rab. So we wish you the best luck trying out this recipe. We hope to see you at our next class. We're putting out a new schedule soon. And Thank you for coming. We appreciate you all being here.
Thank you all.